All right.
Hi, I'm Koko and I'll be talking about hydroelectric power. Hydroelectric power is a form of energy that is generated by the free falling of water. The mechanism used in this process involves a dam with a turbine. A lot of countries resort to this method as it's one of the clean sources of energy to produce electricity. But building a dam can bring many disadvantages to the people living around it. Today, my main claim will be that the negative aspects of building a dam outweighs the advantages. My secondary claims are dams damage the surrounding area. Dams are very expensive to build, which means they must operate for many years to be profitable, and dams change the route of the water flow. So going to my first secondary claim, dams damage the surrounding area. They can cause flooding, which leads to the relocation of people and other animals. On November 2011 in Bangkok, Thailand, the mismanagement of the Bhumibol Dam caused flooding in the surrounding area and worsened the after effects of a storm. I personally experienced this. Everything was closed and it was hard to go anywhere. No one was able to buy food or clean water. All schools and all offices were closed for 2 weeks. And the businesses were experiencing a lot of loss. It was really bad for the country, and the dam only produced around 700 megawatts, whereas other dams like Hoover Dam, also known as the Boulder Dam in Arizona, produces 2,000 megawatts, according to the Arizona Power Authority. Although the Hoover Dam does produce a lot of electricity, it has many negative impacts. According to Dams, Failures, and Earthquakes by Edward Goldsmith, he mentions that when the Hoover Dam was first built, the first shocks were felt in September 1936. In the following year, as the water height of the lake reached 120 meters, 100 shocks were felt. This was because of the pressure of the mass of water being applied to geological structures. In total, 6,000 shocks were felt over an area within a 10-year period. At the conference of a French seismologist, Professor Jean-Pierre Roth, he presented that man-made earthquakes were definitely caused by the impoundment of reservoirs. For a hydroelectric reservoir, the land upstream is flooded. This is an extreme environmental impact. It destroys forests, wildlife, habitats, agricultural land, and scenic lands. In an article called The Environmental Impacts of Hydroelectric Power by Union of Scientists, the building of 3 gorgeous dams in China caused the relocation of entire communities to make way for reservoirs. It submerged 13 cities, 142 towns, and 1,350 villages. 1.2 million people were displaced. This dam is also causing erosion of the reservoir, which is causing landslides and threatening the world's biggest fisheries in the East China Sea. This leads to my next secondary claim. Dams change the route of the water flow, which causes a change in the level of oxygen, temperature, and chemical composition, which affects the aquatic life. The change in level of oxygen causes eutrophication, which starves the animals, and because their food sources are dying off. Organic materials from within and outside the river that would normally wash downstream get built up behind dams and start to consume a large amount of oxygen as they decompose. This was mentioned in the downside of dams. Is the environmental price of hydroelectric power too high by Scientific American? In dams and reservoirs by Water for All, river dolphins of the Yangtze were led to extinction after the three gorgeous dams was built. The variety of fishes, dolphins in the Mekong region are also at risk or extinction. The Glines Canyon dams in the Elbow River in Washington, USA have been responsible for almost wiping out the entire steelhead trout and salmon population. My third secondary claim is that building of dams are very expensive, and that the dam needs to operate for years to be profitable. Large dams have been at best only marginally economically viable, and according to the World Commission on Dams. This means that when a dam is predicted to cost $1 million, it ends up costing $1.56 million. And in many cases, the burden of uneconomic dams is shouldered by nation's citizens, while builders walk off with a profit. Now, most of the largest dams are now being built in the world's poorest nations, and this is a burden they can't afford. In conclusion, the negative impacts of building a dam outweighs the advantages. There are other clean sources of energy like solar and wind power which cause less damage to the environment. And my question is the production of electricity using this method worth all the damage? Thank you.
Did you have an outline that you were going to get back to me?
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, well, the proposition's identified. The contents are laid out partially. I thought it was a little bit odd that your second and your third points in the preview are actually your third, they're kind of inverted in the body of the speech, so that's a little bit confusing. So you've got them in different order than you had in the original preview. But you do label the points in the body of the speech, so that's fine. The data that you have on the first point, you're using a personal experience there that's an interesting piece of information, and I like the first-hand information that you're providing, but I think that you need some research to back it up also and show how inconvenienced people were. There's got to be some kind of economic report on the impact that it had, and I think that that's something that's missing a little bit from what you have. Then you've got examples of how much electricity is produced by that particular dam, and you compare it to some other dam, but you don't tell us why that amount of electricity was insufficient or unnecessary there in Thailand. I think that that's a little bit problematic. The impact that you have next talks about earth shocks. I guess it's the pressure on the earth. They're man-made earthquakes, and you mentioned that there were thousands of them. But how significant those quakes were is not established. Whether or not they did any damage is not established. What the consequences of them is not established. The truth is that we have hundreds of earthquakes every day here in Southern California, and we don't notice them because they're so small. So I'm wondering, so why is this a big deal? What is the problem here? And that doesn't seem to be adequately developed there. The stronger argument I think that you make are the environmental arguments that there's going to be an impact on animal populations or in the environments in those particular areas. That's, I think, the place where you've got some good examples that you can point to, and you've got a theory that explains, for example, how the decayed life creates particular problems. You have both domestic and foreign examples to illustrate those points. I do think you need some source citations on those points, but the idea there, I think, is the stronger argument. The notion that there is a safe, less environmentally harmful way of doing this, I think, is a little suspect. When you're going to do a comparison at the end, and you mentioned solar, for instance, and wind energy, I don't know that they're any less environmentally dangerous than dams are, except that you say so. And I'm not sure that that is the case. So you need to, if you're going to make a comparison, give us some information on those particular points. I thought that was a little problematic. All right, thank you.